All right, we are recording, and it's time for Three Things with JR. Special edition. I have guests. I am sitting on my front porch talking to my sister and my mother. And Aubrey, my sister, has been on the podcast before, but Mom has only been a subject of the podcast before. Never an actual participant until tonight.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mom.
Thank you.
You've had some strong opinions on the podcast in the past.
Yes.
And are you feeling better about it these days?
I've learned to let it go, yes.
Have I said anything to embarrass you in the last few episodes?
No.
No? It's gotten
No.
better in that regard?
Yes.
Cool. And Aubrey, you literally got out of your car in my driveway 10 minutes ago from a long drive?
Yes, from Florida.
From Florida, all the way here. What made you come up here?
I'm mad at Florida right now.
Mad at Florida? What did Florida do to you now?
Florida's not invited to my birthday party.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, Florida's gotten extra Florida-y here lately, huh?
Yeah, I was here just a month and a half ago and went back, and it's not acting right. So I decided to come back up and enjoy my birthday here with my favorite people rather than try to make Florida do what I want it to do. I can't.
Has work been slow, been busy? How is the restaurant business in Florida in the middle of the summer, which is not normally the busy season? And, of course, it's 2020, so who knows? But how is that going?
I am very thankful to work where I do. Comparatively, I think that my restaurant's doing probably, I don't know about the best in the whole state, but I couldn't think of anywhere I'd rather be working down there because our owner knows what he's doing. Our reputation is so great. People are coming. The frustrating thing is we are getting a lot of out-of-town guests that don't know how to act right or tip right.
Out of town, meaning not from Florida? Snowbirds?
Not necessarily not from Orlando. They're not our
Okay.
regulars. And they're not our, what we typically get from events or conventions. It's not those kind of guests either. It seems to be a lot of people who are getting a lot of unemployment money and want to treat themselves. They're not trying to treat us, just themselves.
This doesn't translate into good tips?
Like, for example, a table ordered a $300 bottle of champagne and at the end left me a pile of crumpled up ones. That's
Ooh.
my tip. Yeah.
Crumpled up ones.
Yes. Just to make it extra special and demeaning.
I can just picture you sitting there uncrumpling ones, $1 bill after another.
Like a stripper.
Do they tuck them into your mask?
No, thankfully they did not.
There's, I think, specific rules against that.
Oh, yeah, probably.
That's not allowed in
They're not allowed
pandemic.
to touch us.
No. I mean, not even like when it's not a pandemic.
No.
It's touching, not really a part of serving.
True.
And Mom is living here now. This is Mom's residence.
Yes.
No longer living in the hot spot known as Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and all that.
Right. I'm down here in beautiful Albemarle County instead.
How are you liking it so far? It's been, what, a month and a half, 2 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
I like it very much. It's very tranquil and quiet and feels safe. Feels a lot safer than being up in Northern Virginia.
Has it changed how consistently you wear your mask when you go out in public?
No, because I've worn my mask all along, ever since the beginning,
Yeah.
when we were supposed to. Even when they were saying, you don't really need one, and it only protects other people, doesn't protect you, I still wore one if I went to a store or anywhere, like a gas station or anywhere.
Yeah.
Not when I was out for a walk or something like that, but when I was with other people.
As I've mentioned on this podcast a couple times, I have embraced the mask thing. I used to be very annoyed by the whole concept of having to wear masks. I liked to celebrate it when I could find places where I didn't have to wear the mask. But I have evolved. I have grown to realize that everybody wearing a mask might make this thing end sooner. So that's in my best interest. And once I had a reason for me, then it was easy to decide to wear masks. So when I go to work, when I'm walking around the building, I wear a mask. If I'm going in any store, even if the store isn't very masky, I'll still wear my mask. So yeah, and also I've gotten some masks that I enjoy wearing. You know, some masks that look cool. I have a Hamilton mask. I just got it in the mail today. It says "Talk less, smile more." Big old Hamilton thing. I'm digging that. So yeah, it's not bad.
It helps to have a fun mask.
Right? If you gotta wear masks, which I don't want to, but I got to, right? So why not have a mask I want to wear?
I have a Schitt's Creek mask.
Nice.
I love it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
My favorite masks are tropical themed.
Palm trees and pineapples and stuff.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind wearing a mask at all, but I feel very fortunate that I never have to wear it for very long.
When I have to wear a mask into a store, no big deal. For even the grocery store, 20 minutes, no big deal. When you have to wear it for 8 hours at a time, then those 5, 10, 15-minute trips you don't even notice.
I went through a taste of that week and a half or so ago. I had coworkers at work, the ones I'm training. They came in for one day, and the rule was 100% mask usage all day, even though we were outside installing stereos in cars that were 20 feet apart each. You know, so fully socially distanced and then some. But even with all of that, 100% mask usage outside, 95 degrees. Sun shining, blazing hot, and I started the day wearing this cool mask that I got, and it's like a cloth mask. It's kind of a little thick. It's not super warm, but it's warm enough that was miserable. So I went and got more of like the disposable masks that you just get in the box of 100 of them, it was way cooler. It allowed my face to breathe, and that was a lot more pleasant for the rest of the day. But yeah, that was the idea of wearing one for 8 or 10 hours straight. Not great.
Well, they say taking off your mask in your car is the new taking off your bra at home, and that is absolutely true.
I know what you mean.
I forget I'm even wearing a bra until I take my mask off, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that thing's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's what it is for now.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some things. I'm thinking thing number one is something we all have done, us three specifically, many, many times. Probably between us, amongst us, 100 times, 150 times?
Easy.
We have made the drive from Virginia to Florida and back so many times it's impossible to know the number. When we were kids, we went to Florida to visit relatives and go on vacations in and around Jacksonville and the beaches around there. When I was married, my wife's family lived in Tampa and that area, so we went down there almost once or twice a year, it seemed like. And Aubrey, you living in Florida, and you've coming back and forth several times. Mom goes down to visit you. We've got miles and thousands of miles logged on Route 95 from Virginia to Florida.
Well, yeah, and I lived there for 6 years, so I was up and back many times during that time.
So was I. I used to come visit 3-4 times a year when you lived there for 6 years.
Right.
So I have done that drive, and almost all of my drives as an adult, I have been the one driving the entire way.
Yeah, me too.
Most of them.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
I'd say every single one.
I mean,
Yeah, I can't think. Oh, I did a trip with Missy once, but I would say like 99% of my trips, I'm the one driving the whole way. I've had people with me. Chico used to ride with me.
Well, and I can't remember the last time I stayed anywhere on my way to Florida or back from Florida. I mean, we've talked about this, Aubrey's stayed at places recently, but I can't remember the last time I ever did that. So it's always just straight through.
I think as a family, we were conditioned to drive straight through wherever you're going. Even if it's 22 hours from Virginia to Iowa, you don't stop at hotels unless someone is deathly ill, which did happen. Yeah. But unless that's happening, you just drive straight through. And Dad often made the drive completely, him driving all the way there and back, or all the way there without even stopping to take a nap.
Well, I'll tell you, once I learned that you don't have to do that, like a year ago, I realized it's so much better. You just have to be able to afford it. I love to stop in Savannah, but I can't always afford it. Plus, you have to accept that it takes an extra day off of your time where you're going.
Yeah, that's one reason why I never
Yeah.
did stop, because I never had that much time, and I didn't want to spend 2 days, going or coming. But now that I'm retired, that will probably be different. Although I haven't gone to Florida lately because Florida is such a mess.
Florida's broken.
So, what are some things you like about the drive? The actual act of driving on 95 from here to Florida or from Florida back. Are there things you like about it?
No.
My favorite thing is driving at night. If I drive at night, it's awesome. Like, if I'm not too tired, and I try not to be too tired, but just there's very little traffic and the sun's not beating down on you, and I love that.
It's hard to plan it just right. That's what I wanted to do coming up here this time, was drive at night. Last time I drove back, I did it at night. It was great, easy 12 hours, but I woke up this morning, found out my negative COVID test results.
Woohoo!
I couldn't go back to sleep. I was so excited to come. I'm like, what am I going to do? Just hang out all day? Might as well leave. So I did.
What, did they email you or call you or something?
I got the email came in at 1:30 in the morning. Less than 12-hour turnaround time on that test.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just telling Adam that this thing that the NBA is doing in Orlando, there was an article about it in today's Orlando Sentinel about how it's been a thing in Florida for quite a while now that it takes forever to get your
The
COVID
last
test.
one for nine days.
Yeah, it's a thing. But they said not the NBA testing. They're turning them around really fast.
They told me to expect to receive the results in 12 to 48 hours, but typically around 24. So I was thinking I'd get them this afternoon. And when I woke up at 8 o'clock, it had come in at 1:30 in the morning, and I had gotten tested at 2 o'clock yesterday.
So Florida's not 100% broken.
They're-
Something's working.
They're working on it.
Yeah, the NBA's doing something good in Orlando anyway.
Yeah.
I do not follow the NBA at all. How is any idea how the season's going? Does it affect
they're-
you at all?
No.
Other than this test?
They're in a bubble. They're the only sport, from what I understand, that hasn't had cases come up because they're in a bubble. They can't come or go. They are just all staying in one place. I don't know exactly how that works, but it's not anywhere near downtown Orlando. It's down near the theme parks. So they're not coming into my restaurant or anything. They're not going anywhere, as far as I understand. Very limited.
Are they already playing the games? I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, games are happening. I think it's just them completing the season, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
What's happening is it was about to be playoffs, so
Right.
that's what's going on.
March Madness? No, that's college.
That's
college.
college.
Never mind.
So,
All right. So the drive, Aubrey. There's nothing good about the drive itself.
I mean, I usually will try to save up podcasts to listen to.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not like that's a time where I listen to podcasts at other times at home. It's not something that it's like, oh, because I'm on this drive, I get to listen to podcasts. No, I hate it. I want to just transport myself, and it takes forever, but it's worth it. But no,
I do
don't.
specifically listen to books, and that's something I really look forward to. Like, I've listened to like a 14-hour book that I started when I left here and finished as I got to Orlando, and that was pretty cool. If it's a good book.
Yeah.
I tried to finish listening to Michelle Obama's book, and it just started putting me to sleep. I had to turn it off.
Oh,
Not
I
that it
love
wasn't
book.
good. Maybe it's just her voice. She was
It's so
lulling me to
soothing and
sleep.
relaxing
Yeah.
and pleasant.
If I'm walking, it's fine. But I'm trying to drive, it was making me fall asleep. Yeah.
I listened to that book on a trip to Florida, and it didn't put me to sleep. But maybe I wasn't sleepy. I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the more fun drives to Florida that I can remember. We weren't going to Florida for a good reason, but we did have fun on the drive. When you had your heart attack, Aubrey and Chico and Chester and me all piled in my Ford Bronco and drove to Florida. And we left at like 10 o'clock at night or something like that. And we were cranking music the whole way. And I mean, it was a fun drive. Like, I enjoyed the actual drive. We were hanging out, we were laughing and talking and stuff. when you have good company, it's actually not a bad drive.
Yeah, I can think of a road trip with you not to Florida where I had a really good time. We were taking turns playing music. That can be fun.
Yeah.
But the actual drive from Florida to Virginia is just the most monotonous, boring, nothing exciting. The most exciting thing is seeing south of the border.
And all the billboards for south of the border.
Although if you drive at night, you don't see those because they're not.
They don't light them up anymore?
No. Oh, they'll have like one every once in a while that's lit up.
When was the last time anybody stopped there?
I've stopped there.
It's been a long time since I stopped there.
It depends. If it's right when I need gas, I might stop there. But it's just trashy. It's dirty and trashy.
Yeah.
It seems like with that time I took Allison down there, we stopped so she could buy junky toys.
Oh, I loved it as a kid. I would buy bumper stickers and all kinds of stuff. I loved spending my money there as a kid.
I was always highly disappointed that you couldn't actually go up in the big sombrero tower.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. There's a way to get up there. Like, at some point they thought, hey, people will pay to go up here, and it's never been open. I've never seen it open. Why not?
Beats me. Kind of like the Washington Monument.
What? Is that closed?
I don't know. There's been years where you couldn't go up in the Washington Monument.
Yeah, like when they've been doing construction on either the outside or the inside.
Yeah.
And just, no.
And when I was a kid, we used to actually walk up the stairs of the Washington Monument.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I have never been up in the Washington Monument.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, bet it is.
All right, so the drive to Florida. It sucks, but it can be fun if you have the right things to listen to, the right people in the car. We'll wrap thing one up there. So here comes a drum solo of some kind. I don't have any new ones recorded, and I'm not going to record any tonight, so we'll see what happens. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll go downstairs and record a drum solo, and I'll put it in this podcast. But we'll be right back with thing number 2 in a minute. Back, and it's thing number 2. So what are we listening to these days? I'm going to start just because I have just recently, in the last couple days, for the first time, started listening to an audiobook. Generally speaking, I prefer to read actual books or books on my phone, so actual looking at words on a page, whether it's paper or digital. I feel like actual reading is something I like. However, I have not had time to sit and read any time recently, and I was out of podcasts, so I downloaded Audible, and you get like 3 credits and something like that. So I've downloaded 2 books. I haven't done my 3rd credit yet, but I downloaded Washington: A Life, which is Ron Chernow's George Washington biography. I thoroughly enjoyed his Hamilton biography, and I started reading the Washington biography, but I haven't had time to get back to it. So I downloaded that, thinking I would be able to finish the book that way. So Washington: A Life. So I've got that downloaded, but I didn't start that one. Instead, I started the Frederick Douglass biography. Not one of the autobiographies that he wrote. He wrote 3 about himself. But this one is an actual biography, which references a lot of the quotes and things from his autobiographies, and it is mesmerizing. The guy that's reading it has got the smoothest voice. Like, it would probably put you to sleep, Aubrey. It is just soothing and smooth, and I just love the guy that's actually reading it. I don't even know who he is, but he's great. And the story of Frederick Douglass, I knew he was a black person that was historic for America, but I really didn't know anything about him other than that. I knew nothing, and so just from the first 3.5 chapters I've heard, I at least now have a pretty good picture of kind of who he was. and I'm learning about the early parts of his life, and it is fantastic. So audiobooks, I can get on board with listening to a book instead of reading it.
Yeah.
Broadening my horizons little by little here.
Well, yeah, and Frederick Douglass is great. I have not read the book you were talking about, but I read his first autobiography on Kindle, and it was just great. And it was free, by the way. So there's that. And it's not a long book, but it was awesome.
Do you know which of his autobiographies it was?
I think it was his first one. But
The first one?
Yeah.
Because he wrote 3, and I don't know the full timeline of all of that yet. I haven't gotten that far through it, but yeah, clearly his perspective on his life changed based on what I've heard so far.
Yeah. Well, this one started when he was a child, so I'm pretty sure it was the first one. But yeah, it was really good. But what you're talking about makes me want to listen to that one too.
I highly recommend it, just from what I've heard so far.
But I'm listening to a book too, and it's actually a book I've listened to before, and it's a really long book, and it's called Winds of War by Herman Wouk, and it's about World War II, and it just keeps me interested the whole time, even though I've read it before. It's been at least 10 or 15 years since I read it the first time. And some podcasts.
Yeah, the podcasts and the audiobook, although I did just install a new stereo in my new car, and it sounds amazing, so I'm also listening to more music. Ooh. The horses are running, and Scherzer the dog is not happy. So listening to some music on the new system with the subwoofer and the amplifier and the speakers and all of that is pretty rewarding too. A new band I've just become familiar with is called Katzenjammer, and they're an all-female band, 4-piece band from Norway. They've won whatever the Norway equivalent of a Grammy is. They're a big deal in Norway. They've got millions of listens on Spotify. I haven't heard of them until just last week, and I've been listening to them a bunch, and their music's all over the place. They play a bunch of instruments. They're all multi-instrumentalists. Some of their songs rock. Some of their songs are very sort of vaudevillian. They do a neat cover of the Genesis song Land of Confusion, which is a great song already, and they make it even better. So that's been a lot of fun too. So I've been listening to a lot of cool stuff. Aubrey, what are you listening to?
On a drive, I don't like listening to music much, so I mostly do podcasts. I caught up on your podcast, which was fun. That took up a couple hours. And then I listened to Chelsea Handler's newest book, which was really good, on my last drive. Michelle Obama, which has been good. But also podcasts. I listen to a lot of different ones. Amy Schumer has a great podcast. But I was listening today for a couple hours to Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally's podcast. They interviewed, I think I listened to 3 different ones, and they do their podcast from in their bed and in their marital bed, and they have someone come get in their bed with them and do a podcast. And it's pretty good. They're just starting out, and like with most podcasts I listen to, it just gets better and better as they get better at
So this is a new podcast.
I don't think it's that new. I think there's a bunch of them actually.
Oh, cool.
I started with the first one.
Yep.
And yeah.
Have they always done it from their bed, or is that a COVID thing?
No, I think it's pre-COVID.
No, okay.
That's the premise of their podcast, is from their bed.
Yep.
Are they naked while they're doing it?
No.
No. Okay.
That would make it better, wouldn't it?
Right.
But I also
just knowing that fact would make it better.
I did also just discover a new band called Surfaces, and it's reggae, and they have this song called Sunday Best, and it's just one of those, puts you in a good mood. If I'm just kind of down or not feeling great, I put that song on, and it makes me want to dance, and it just makes me feel good. And similar to a lot of reggae, it's kind of just good as background music. I've listened to some of their other stuff, and nothing is quite as catchy as that one song, but if you haven't heard it, it's really good.
Surfaces is the name of the band?
Yes.
And what's
Surfaces.
the song?
Sunday Best.
Sunday Best. I'll check it out. Cool. Let's do thing number 3, which is what sounds like a bit of a pet peeve for you, Mom. When you're listening to podcasts and interviews and stuff, when the interviewer asks the interviewee a question, and the interviewee says, "Oh, that's a good question."
Yeah, they say, "Oh, that's a really good question." which is fine if it was a really good question, but they say that even if it was a normal question or a bad question.
Why do you think people say that?
Well, the conclusion I've come to is that they're trying to buy a little time so they can think of what they're going to say, what their answer will be. But I started noticing, especially when I listen to NPR shows, that it's a regular thing that interviewees say, and it's starting to really annoy me because a lot of the questions are not really good.
Yeah, it's like filler speech to buy some time. That's one good. I think that's probably accurate a lot of the time with what's going on. I think another thing that's happening is that the person is hoping that question will be asked, and so they're excited that they get to answer the question they've been planning to answer because they've thought of it, right? And so they're excited. So one of the things they'll say is, "Hey, great question," meaning, "Hey, I've got an answer to that question. Thank you for asking one I know the answer to," that kind of thing. It could be that too.
Sometimes I think that it's not uncommon when you're prepping for an interview to tell the person what you're going to ask them. So if they then say, "Oh, that's a really good question," it's a little bit self-serving. They already knew you were going to ask that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I have another theory because I do this. When I'm waiting tables and somebody asks me a question that's ridiculous or stupid, I say, "That's a great question." And then I answer them. But what I really mean is, "You're an idiot." But I'm going to say that in a way that sounds nice.
So that's the complete opposite thing that you do, and it's like reverse psychology a little bit. Do you say that because if you say anything else, you're going to reveal to them that you think they've asked a stupid question?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good strategy.
An example, I had a guy the other day on Saturday nights now at my steakhouse. We're featuring some new vegan options because our owner's opening a vegan restaurant. And so I start telling them about the menu on the back of the vegan options. And he's like, "Well, why are there vegan options at a steakhouse?" Trying to be a jerk and acting like this is a stupid thing to do. And so I just responded with, "What a great question," so that I can continue saying what I was about to tell them about why there are vegan options, because we're opening a vegan restaurant. And the other great reason, which is that our owner wanted to create a space where someone who loves steak and someone who loves vegan food can both have a great meal.
Yeah, that seems so obvious.
Why are you mad at it? People
Right.
get really mad at the whole vegan concept, which I get.
They're like, "I don't want to be in a room where there's vegans."
Yeah.
And now you're going to have vegan food here? There's going to be vegans here, and I still want to come here, but I'm going to have to be in a room with vegans, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to me? That's what he was asking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have grown out of my very negative feelings towards the vegan movement. I don't feel negatively about it anymore because we have some really good vegan food.
Who do you feel negatively towards now? If not vegans.
The out of towners leaving me piles of crumpled up ones on
right.
my table.
We comes full circle. This has been fun. Thank you for doing this. I bombarded you with this idea as you got close to the house. I thought, hey, as soon as she gets here, I'm going to put her on microphone and talk podcast stuff. And without hardly any preparation on the topics of the things. And I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I did, very much.
And Mom, thank you for being on the podcast for the first time.
No problem. I can't think of anything more delightful than sitting around chatting with my two favorite people.
Yeah, we were going to do this anyway.
Yep.
So, there you go. Thank you so much for listening. This is Three Things with JR, over and out. We'll finish it up with some music of some kind. Maybe a drum solo. I don't know. I'm going to record it here in a few minutes, and we'll see what happens.